Hello there, Abisola Oguntunde here. You're welcome to the Faith and Culture Podcast. This is the second episode of a two-part series where my wife and I were in the studio just talking about how we met, why she said yes to me, why I asked her out, how the journey has been. And so if you missed that first installment, please go back and listen to it so you can have better perspective on why we're having this conversation in this way this second episode. Okay, so today look forward to some more incredible conversations, but perhaps a bit deeper because, just like we have relationships that are amazing, awesome, there are no relationships that are not without their own fair share of struggles, challenges, especially during the relationship period, even before the marriage. And we're going to be sharing some portion of our own story in today's episode, so stay tuned. The last episode was really amazing. Yeah. I mean, it was really beautiful to just, reminisce on those moments, how we met, why you said yes to me, how we used to hang out a lot. Yeah. Some of the things you remember. I mean, I believe you even remember these things more vividly than I do, right? But like it is for relationships, really, because there's a way relationships can come across as if they're perfect. You guys just have it all figured out. God told you she's the one. God told you he's the one. You knew you were going to marry a pastor. When you saw her, you knew she was going to be the one. And there's that assumption that, these guys are just going to have a very smooth sail in their relationship. We did not have a smooth sail. Now, like you were saying, to those in the studio earlier on, that this is a part of our relationship life that maybe nobody has perspective on. I'm not sure we've ever really shared it publicly.
Yeah, he actually hasn't come.
There was a time in the relationship where we broke up.
You broke up.
Come on. Anyways, so I broke up with my wife at the time for a period of about 1 month.
1 month, yeah.
So I'll share my own side of the story, but I'd like to hear your side of the story because how was that period for you? Because I know it was really, really tough on you.
Yeah,
and
it was.
Once again, I'm sorry. But go ahead and share
Okay.
your side of the story.
Okay, all right. I think it was 2017. So we started dating. You asked me out September 19, 2015. Yeah, I remember. September 9th. So it's going to be 10 years this September. Okay, so we started dating, and the moment I think you even left Abuja to come and ask me out.
Yes,
but I remember I wrote an exam and I passed that exam in flying colors. I remember it was environmental law or something like that. And then so you asked me out and then you went back to Abuja because you were working at the time. And then fast forward 2016, that was when you started serving in 2016.
Yeah,
and then I went to law school first in 2016. So you were in Calabar, I was in Kano. So and I think that was when we just entered long distance. And I think what even really helped us the first couple of years was the foundation we had built. Those 6 months of being deliberate and being very intentional about hanging out and getting to know one another, right? And then fast forward to 2017, I believe it was April. So it was April 2017. It was April 2017. You had just finished serving, so you were still serving actually. You were still serving, and that was when I had this break from school and from law school now for externship. So I left Kano, I came to Lagos first, right, just to touch base and see you, and then go home from there because I was going to be home for another 12 weeks for the externship. So I was going to do like a chamber law firm externship, and then I think the court externship, and that's what we call it, like that for law when you're in law school, right? So and I remember coming, and before then we always had times that we spoke because you're general secretary in NCCF at the time, and then 9 p.m. every day you just spoke and things like that. And I remember I was always very eager, let's talk, because sometimes I have classes and things like that, and then we just talk at night. And I can't really say this was what happened, but I knew communication we spoke every day. We had that rule that we always spoke every day. We didn't go to bed without solving that issue, regardless of where we were. You in Calabar, I was far back in Kano, but we always just talked. But at that moment, we were just looking like maybe something else was taking your attention, and then we were just far apart. I mean, and then our schedules were just clashing. There are times that we were able to talk for so long, like we had imagined, or like we had just planned to, speak and all that. And then I remember I came to your brother's place to say hello to you because you were staying with your brother at the time. So I came to stay with Dr. BJ. And then, we said we were going to like go out. So we went out to, was it ShopRite? Somewhere in Surulere.
Cinema. We went to see a movie.
We went to see a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was wearing this gold net dress with this my short hair.
Blue polo too.
Yes, we have pictures from that day.
Yeah.
So we went. It was somewhere in Surulere. I just knew it was in Surulere. It wasn't far. It was somewhere in Surulere that we went. And after like tried to take pictures, we got popcorn and things like that. It was just not. I was just not feeling it. Like, what's up? Like, what's going on? Like, cause I was going to be leaving for Ondo the following day, so I could go for my externship and things like that. And then you were just there, and you're not saying much. We didn't really have even the pictures. They were not so. We were just let's just take a picture. It was just one random person helped, and then just took our pictures and all of that. And then we were coming. In my mind, I was like, okay, did he spend too much? Like, was it the money? Are you broke? Like, no, because
that's the nicest way to ask that question. Are you broke, sir?
Like, is it money? Like, okay, I remember saying let's split the fare. Like, I was going to pay for my cab, and then you would, and you're like, no, it's fine. But I insisted, and then I just paid because you had paid going, and then you had spent. You bought the tickets for the movie and all of that, and then we just stopped at Luce, and then we're just walking in. Then, just trying to ask, like, how was the movie? Just trying to go over our nights. I mean, we literally just saw a movie and let's just talk, and, it wasn't going smoothly. And then we just got in, and then you said, oh, you wanted to talk to me and all of that. And you just went on to say, okay, so you don't think, like, I don't even know the exact words you use, but maybe something like, oh, you don't think this is going to work or something, communication, blah, blah, blah. And that you're going to have to break up with me. And I'm like, I don't understand why. Why do you want to break up with me? Because I didn't even really get it at first, because it felt like, the last relationship I was in, which was the only relationship I was in before we started dating, I was one that broke the relationship, and it was even based on instruction, because I'm a loyal girl. Like, if we're in it for the long haul. And I remember you asking me, when you asked me out, that was the question you asked me, like, am I willing to go the long haul with you? And I like, yeah, I'm willing to. And I even gave you a short, very quick response, right? And, you just went on to say, okay, like, this is not working. And, like, I don't know, I don't even remember how I felt. I know I felt, like, horrible, like, it was just terrible. It wasn't fun at all.
I'm sorry.
What?
All over again.
It's alright. It's okay. And I was like, what? Why? And I remember I got so emotional. Like, I think the thoughts just flooded my mind. Like, okay. At that moment, I actually understood why sometimes it's difficult for people to leave relationships, because it's like, I've invested in this relationship. 3-4 years. Where do you want me to start from? So, like, I could actually relate, because it's easy for people to say that if he's doing this, like, just break up. It's so actually easy to break out of a relationship that you've actually invested in. Emotions have been exchanged. You've been in this relationship for 3-4 years, and all of a sudden it's coming to a halt, and you feel like you're going to be fine. Even if you have justifications, you would want to unsee those things, because you feel like, I've known this person. This person was not like this year 1 year 2. This is probably just something that will change, but that was even not the case in our own situation. But at the same time, it just brought that to mind that, okay, now I get it. And then I was very hurt. Like, it was painful.
But to be fair, it was a break, not a breakup. Remember?
So wait, initially it was a breakup. You said you were going to break up with me, and then I don't know, maybe you saw me crying, and you couldn't handle it. Like, oh my god. she's crying. So I think one of the issues you had with me was you felt I wasn't vulnerable. That was one thing. You actually felt I wasn't as vulnerable, like I wasn't vulnerable to you. So for the first time, and we had been in a long distance relationship, so the first time you saw me cry, so it was like what you were, part of your reasons for breaking up with me, which was vulnerability, the lack of it, you now saw like, this is vulnerability right here. She's crying, she's actually crying, like, oh my God, like, so you can cry. More like, so you
hard
can
guy,
be this,
like you.
Yeah, I'm hard guy, like wait. But like, I don't even know, like, I was just so emotional, and I just felt like, okay. Like, I didn't even know what to say. You know how you be like, no, I'm not breaking up with you. You're not breaking up with me. I said I was going to be in this for the long run. None of that happened because I was so broken. Like, I was just very hurt, and like, I didn't even know what else to do. Like, and then I could not even, like, the worst part, I could not leave. Like, let me go. Like, I could not even leave because where I know for Lagos, where am I going to? And then it was just a bad place, Sebe.
Wow.
Right? And I remember you now said, okay, you know what, we're going to go on a break. I don't know if that was even supposed to like help the situation. Like, guy, you already said what you said, right? And I remember going back home to Ondo the following day, because I mean, even if I wanted to wait one more day, there was no point. Like, there's no point. Like, I'm just going to go. And then I remember just going back home, and you know, we had agreed that okay, I wasn't going to reach out to you. We're not going to reach out to me. Like, we're just going to go on a break and see
how it goes.
And I think so. I think when I now got home, like, I was just very careful that okay, I'm not going to try to push myself on you. But I mean, we're dating, so like, this is someone I speak to. Like, we're talking every day. So it was a bit difficult to, you know, adjust to the new respect is decision kind of thing. But I actually did. And I remember it was you that reached out to me. And I felt like, okay, so maybe I can also respond and say, oh, hello. So it was just like, it was almost as we're just starting to know each other again. And I think from that moment, because eventually we made up now, we should be here. Right? From that moment, I remember 1 month passed. So I think 1 month from there was May 8th. I think it was now May 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Was that May 8th or May 15th? I remember you now sent me, it was Evernote. You sent me, and I remember you saying Evernote doesn't forget because of the whole elephant thing. I have that audio till today. I have the audio with me. Right, and then you sent it on my Evernote, and then you sent me that audio. I don't know how many minutes long. But
I think about 18 minutes.
Yeah, 15 to 18 minutes. Yeah, and then you just poured out your heart, and it was like you know how they say vow renewal kind of thing. So it was like, okay, you were recommitting, you know, yourself with, like, it was like a whole, like, it was just a commitment. Like, you're now making a commitment. So to you, it was, you're probably gonna share your own side of the story, but you felt like you were convinced that this is the person you were going to marry, yeah. Right? But at the same time, you, like, it was like you just needed that break to just, you know, just dip in and your conviction, just to be sure that, okay, God, should I go ahead and things like that. And that was it. So from that moment, it was a new level of vulnerability, actually, because it was lacking, and then it caused that break, which was good at the time, because it was good that we were just in a relationship, we're not married and trying to struggle with vulnerability and all that. But then moving on to, you know, after the 1 month break, and then we came back stronger, and it was good. And I think that was the year you also wanted to travel. Like, things were just really, it moved on a different level entirely. And even when we had a second issue, not like even a second issue, but there was just like this whole long distance thing again that could have easily just, you know,
threatened the relationship even more.
Like, it couldn't, because we were so rock solid that, you know, like, and we're very vulnerable to each other. We communicated, we're open, and yeah. But that one moment, that period of 1 month,
it was really tough. It was tough for me too, you know, because to be very honest, I didn't know. In that period that I asked for the break, I did not know if I was going to be able to commit to you full term and long haul. So I wanted to go and be sure. And I couldn't be sure while I'm still in it.
Yeah.
So it was a very tough conversation to also have with you. And before we had that meeting in Lagos, I had been feeling a lot of distance from you. I've been feeling like you're not with me. You're not with me. You know, and I can also say the same of myself. It was almost as though I was also not with you.
Yeah.
Because when you go to service here, you are seeing different people and you're in a different world. There are people around you, and there's this babe that you're in a relationship with that is in a different world by herself. And back then, you were either always reading or, you know, in your hostel trying to sleep because you're either reading in class or trying to sleep so that you don't, you know, get burnt out and everything. So we didn't have as much time to talk like we used to. And all of that combined with the new reality of my own world in NCCF back then, because back in NCCF you had everybody around you, you know, we lived in the same house, the family house, and people were always available to serve, the general secretary, the uncle, and the papa and everything. And then there was this babe that is not really as attentive and as, you know, present. So all of that, with the conviction that I used to have, but the reality of my current situation sort of made me feel like I'm not sure anymore. I need to be sure. Right. And I just said, you know what, maybe it's important that we had a little break and I'll hopefully get back. And I'm glad it wasn't too long. I'm glad we didn't allow that edge get broken for too long. Because if it had broken for too long, a lot could have happened. Yeah. You know, Yorubas will say, Ogiri to ba lanu lalang ba man ko, right? In a nutshell, what that is if the wall doesn't open its mouth, if it doesn't get open, the lizard cannot enter. So dysfunction often begins with distance. You know, when people are no longer talking and are no longer vulnerable. And the perspective you shared about how that it was the fact that I was not getting vulnerability from you that maybe incentivized me asking for that break. You are just bringing it to my consciousness now, actually. And I agree with it because I remember that was quite the situation at the time when I felt you were not really being vulnerable enough. I think you have this way of zooming into things. Like when you're doing something, you can zoom. I mean, you were very focused on law school. And, you know, I sort of felt like second fiddle to law school. And of course, you needed to be serious with your law school. I don't know why I was feeling that way, but I guess I just maybe wanted a bit more. Yeah. And to be funny for a guy to need assurance. But I guess that was what I needed at the time. And
I think the distance also really complicated things. Calabar, Kano, you couldn't even see for a whole year. Eventually.
And then you served in Kano, you did law school in Kano 2 consecutive years. Law school first, yeah? Yeah, law school first. Law school first, then service in the same Kano. I mean, what are the odds?
When I was serving, you were now in Lagos working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that was quite a time. It was a really tough time. And like you said, we had another patch, but that one did not have anywhere near the kind of impact.
There was a lot of vulnerability.
Yes.
So it was just very smooth and even sort of like deep into the conviction. Oh God.
And that's why, you know, in the book, Love Math, I did a lot of focus on vulnerability because I really think it's the most important thing for any couple to have and share in their relationship, because when there is no vulnerability, it becomes extremely difficult to even detect signs of distance, signs of aloofness, because you're not checking, you're not connected. You know, you need to be connected with your car, be aware of it, to notice when it's bringing out a sound that it doesn't normally bring out. So that familiarity can only happen in the context of vulnerability in a relationship, such that by the time things go a bit south, you can notice and then you can have conversations and then you can talk about it openly. And then both of you can then reconnect and reconcile and deepen your commitment to one another again, because that was exactly what happened to us. We then became stronger and better. And then, I mean, I was even going to travel to Tulsa at the time for my master's in divinity at...
Was that same year you came to Ondo?
Yes, and met my parents. Now that I was going to be traveling out of the country, I was even more sure. I was so convinced. I came to Ondo, went...
Maybe that's why...
Maybe that's why God did not give me permission to go.
Because we had just come out of that. And then you were going, and I remember you writing a note
Yeah.
I remember that note. It's an A4 paper.
Yeah.
I still have it, by the way.
You have everything.
I do.
Ew.
Came to my parents, and just say, oh, don't worry. You know, those like,
I'll be
come
back
and marry you. And I was actually very excited about it. Like, I was just too sure that yes.
I think you're just a pure soul, to be honest. And I'm saying this because it's the truth. My wife is so, I think the word is actually pure. That is, you believed things on the face value. Like you didn't have any reasons to doubt me. You didn't have any reasons to second guess. So you were all in. I mean, you were all in. And I think it's a gift that I can't thank God enough in you. You know, the fact that you were such a pure soul. You were just true to whatever happened. And if anything happened that you think I needed to know, even if you felt I was going to react badly, you always said it. You risked getting some funny reaction from me. So rather than suppress the information, you still said it. Like, you will just still say it because you can't for the life of yourself suppress information that you should actually volunteer in a relationship. And that's just amazing because there are people who will, you know, they will never put themselves in harm's way just so that they can protect their interest in their relationship. But you were always vulnerable, and that really drew me even closer to you, you know, over the years, and it still does till now. You know, I just thought it's important to mention that.
Thank you.
And also to mention that, you know, no relationship is perfect. We had our fair share of challenges.
We did. That long distance.
You know, the distance was quite
deliberate.
demanding.
That was when I think the following year when I was serving now, and then we planned. Okay, during law school, I went to Abuja for the culture bar, and then I met your brother, and then I stayed at their house. They hosted me then, and then it was just really nice, you know, getting to know them, and you know, it was like I had a family in Abuja. So the following year, I think 2018. While I was serving, you and I in Lagos, we now planned to see again, just to touch base. We wanted to just touch base at least once a year, or maybe once in 6 months or something like that, because of the long distance that we were in. And then we decided we were going to meet at your brother's place in Abuja. So you came from Lagos, I came from Kano. I remember entering bus then, like, it was so from Kano and all. I mean, with the old, you know, violence and all of those things that were part then, like, I just went like that because of man. But it was really good. I mean, we went to Holy Hill Church. Remember, we worshipped at Holy Hill, and it was just really fun. You know, the fact that we could really connect and be deliberate about our relationship. We're now trying to ensure that we're touching base, seeing. And then when I was even coming back to Lagos, that was when I started attending TBC, and then you had invited me, and then that was when you now asked me, and it was the same 2018, my birthday, that you now proposed to me and asked if I would be your wife. And I was like, yeah, it was on my birthday. So it was, from there, and, you know, thank God, here we are. It's going to be our 6th year.
By God's grace,
Married.
But how has the marriage been? You know, we've talked a lot about, before we got married, how we met, challenge we had with distance, the communication, how we reconnected, became more vulnerable, cemented the union, quote unquote, and then I proposed, and then we got married. Now this is the 6th year since we got married. How has that journey been for you, especially in the light of childbearing, nursing, ministry, and of course maintaining career, you know, maintaining the source in marriage? How have you
absolutely
managed that?
Well, first off, don't try this at home. We got married without jobs.
Right.
Right, like I just resigned in September. We got married October. You had resigned August. And then we got married October, no job, nothing. And then we were just trusting God. I remember it was spray money. We used to buy our fridge. We used spray money to buy fridge. We got a gift. We used to buy fan, electric kettle, and then blender. Those are like the 4 major things that we got.
Yeah.
For our tabletop, tabletop burner was like a gift from your own.
Yeah, office. I think it was from
was it from
NCCF?
No.
It was from the office.
Was from the office. Then the small oven was from NCCF, gas cylinder, and a couple of things that we got as gifts. And we just one bed we had. We didn't even have sofa. We had nothing.
TV, nothing.
No TV, but the only thing I knew I was very particular about was our curtain. Like, because we're downstairs, let nobody be seeing what is happening inside our house. Like, we don't have sofa or something. So we just wanted to ensure that we had our privacy, and then we had our bed and all of that. And it was like, it was good because I'm like, okay, because I think for me, I just liked the idea of, building and starting something together, not just entering into, how people will be like, oh, he has to have money, he has to be working a particular job, earning a particular amount of money, have a particular car, you live in a particular house and things like that. And that's like their spec list, right? And I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it in that sense to just want to have some level of security. Right, but at the same time, the joy and the, just that sheer joy of knowing that we started this together, we built together, we can tell the stories. Like, it was not just like, oh, I came to, something that was already settled in that sense, finished. But I liked that we're building and we're still building, right? And it's just such a beautiful journey doing that together. I remember in 2020, that was when we took in and then we conceived. That was Tiara then, and it was now during COVID. I remember I was just I was very anxious then because I was like, oh, I'm pregnant. Actually, I don't even want to have COVID or anything because it was even going to be. So I remember I delayed antenatal. We didn't start antenatal until about 6 months gone. But I was taking prenatals. Thank God we have a doctor in our family. So I was taking prenatals and all of that. But that season was just tough. It was your 30th that same year. I remember just reaching out to a couple of people that they should please just do like a video because there was no way we were going to celebrate, right? Because it was during COVID and all of that. And like, it was just a lot. But the one thing I was very excited about was the fact that we just got to spend a lot of time together by ourselves. Like
almost a year
because we didn't even have that before. It was coming from long distance and then we're just thrown into, I see, like, we're in each other's faces, and we grew a lot closer. We played games, like, we just had fun, talked, gist, ate. And it was just the two of us, and it was really just beautiful that season. And then Tara came, and it was just amazing. You were very present. I remember the one time I traveled to Ondo because of health reasons and just because I needed extra, hands with Tara, and you started working then. And that one moment, I remember when I was in the bus going to Odo, I started crying because I was like, this was the first time we were going to be away from each other. So it was like when the relationship and it was like, okay, this is another long distance.
I was emotional to driving back home that day without you.
Like, this is the first time, like, come on. And I was just there. I remember crying as I was feeding her. I was just crying. I was crying inside the bus. And then we go and then we started chatting and talking and like doing video calls like we were dating and all that. But that 1 month period was really something, honestly.
We've come, I won't call it a long way because 6 years is not so long, but it's quite a distance, 6 years is a lot in a child's life, It's a lot in a marriage as well.
Yeah.
And as we're going to round off this episode, because, I wanted us to talk about some of the challenges we faced, especially during the relationship and even in, as we transition into marriage and some of the seasons we have also survived together.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to also share some of the amazing miracles that God did for us. And for example, during COVID, clearly nobody could go out and we didn't have a job, and the church was not able to do so much at the time in terms of compensation and stipends, as the case may be. So we literally had to trust God for everything. I remember even going into the, getting the apartment when we got married.
Yeah.
It was a miracle. I had just done this job with my friend and brother, Pastor Peace, and he volunteered his own cut of the profits from the gig.
Yeah.
And by the time we added it to what we had, it was exactly the amount that we needed to pay for the rent just before we moved in at the time. Then we moved in, like you said, no couch, nothing, just
Thank God
fridge,
for spray money.
fan, and a bed,
Yeah.
and then you won't even believe what happened. This happened in Lagos. Like, it's just incredible. Our neighbor at the time, very strangely, she just walked up to us and just knocked at our door and told us, she said, if we ever need if we ever need the lights on, that we can as well just plug our socket to her gen and turn it on at any time.
Like,
And that we should not even dare to buy fuel. Like, she said, if we buy fuel, she will fight with us.
the
That
one time we bought
like,
fuel,
she was so upset. I mean, who would do that in Lagos? That is, she bought her gen. The gen has 2 sockets.
Yeah.
And then she has her own socket, and she said we should just get our wire sorted so that we can just plug in, and we don't have to ask her for permission. We can turn it on anytime. That was the gen we were using to run services during the COVID.
During COVID.
On Sunday mornings. Because, remember, we started church October 2019. By March 2020, COVID had started. So we're barely a few members at the time.
Yeah.
So during that COVID, between March and like September, October, we're having services in our living room, and we didn't have a gen, and that was the gen we're always using every Sunday. So sometimes we would deny ourselves using gen during the week so that we can use our full chest to turn on the gen on Sundays. And those were just little miracles that God used to show us that He was with us and that He never left us. And the beauty of our union, honestly, has always been in the fact that we were always together on pretty much every decision that we made. Ministry front, childcare, we're always present. I remember back then, my wife didn't even know the way to the market. I always went to the market. I'll buy everything, buy fruits. She always had fruits back then when she was pregnant with Tiara Loa. And it's been such a beautiful journey of growth, maturity, development. And even now that you're now a pastor ordained at the PowerPoint Tribe, it gives me a lot of joy. And I'm really excited about where God is taking you personally as well, beyond just even in connection with me. Your growth has been phenomenal. I've seen you evolve, I've seen you transition, I've seen you take care of our kids in incredible ways. In fact, it has now become one of my love languages. Watching you do what you do makes me feel loved, honestly. When I see you take care of them in such a way that is just beautiful. And then the way you're now growing into your career as well, doing projects, managing multiple projects at the same time. I'm just really blessed. I feel really blessed having you on this very long journey. We just started. It's just 5-6 years we've spent together. There is still a long way to go. And thank you for joining me on this podcast. Do you have any last words to share with everyone watching?
Well, there was something you mentioned about me being pastor now, and I remember that, going into marriage and you just having been ordained in TBC, I think it was just before our wedding.
Yeah.
That you were ordained as pastor, and I like the fact that it took about 5 years before I actually became pastor, and it wasn't you didn't pressure me into you must be a pastor,
Mommy Jill
kind of thing. I like that you just allowed me be my person, and I think that's one thing I'm also grateful for in you, that you just how to I say this a lot to you, but you know how to just call out the king in someone. Like, I see, it's almost as though you can see the future person and you're like, this is who you are, so I'm going to call out who you're supposed to be so that you can walk in that reality of who you are. You have encouraged me a lot. You always push me to be a better version of myself. You don't even try to make me someone else, or maybe try to make me you in that sense. There's no pressure at all. I didn't feel pressured for once. And when the call came to enter into the office of a pastor and everything, it was a moment of reflection for me on how I've come, how God has dealt with me, all through the 5 years married. And it was a beautiful coming together, right? And I'm just so grateful for you. I'm grateful for all that you are, how we say it, and all that you do. I'm so thankful. Every time I wake up and I'm like, ooh, I'm married to this guy. Oh, okay. It has gone beyond, this person is my friend, person and acquaintance. Like, it's actually my guy. Like, we're in this together. I
love you, babe.
I love you too.